So, in your story, right,
Yeah.
I see a lot of ability to adapt to change and everything. Because at one point when we met,
Yeah.
we were at Wits,
Yes.
when we formally met,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you were an academic then.
Yes.
And then later on, I see that, oh, this man is a soccer player.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but you kept the academics part going.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're pivoting again out of soccer back into like
Into
formal
the workspace,
employ
yeah.
and into the workspace. Where does that come from? That ability and the desire to just pivot when the time comes.
You know, it's so interesting that you asked that question because I've thought about this before, you know, and I've attributed it to a couple of things, right? So I think one, some of it was learned naturally because when I was young, we moved a lot
At home.
at home. So we
Okay.
moved a lot. As I said, my mom was a teacher. You can imagine, man, in the early 90s, a black woman who's a teacher is probably not very well paid, you know, and not very well appreciated. So when my parents divorced, so my mom and my dad divorced when I was 8 years old. When they divorced, you know, it obviously impacted finances and all of that. So we moved a lot. So I changed schools a lot when I was young. I mean, I went to, I must have went to like 4 or 5 different primary schools. Just primary. Just primary, you know. So I think that actually helped me become very easy to, I can adjust to change very quickly. You
So
know?
that became your life.
Yes,
Something
I know
changes,
how to,
like, okay.
if we move now we're in Joburg. You know, I mean, I was 12, 11 years old when we moved to Joburg. You know, there's so many different languages. Now you need to adjust to this language, you need to adapt, you need to move from a situation where you were learning English as a second language, now it's a first language, now there's Afrikaans, you know, so we constantly needed to be able to adjust. So I think that has actually helped me to a large extent, you know, and I think also just my approach to life. You know, I try and not overthink things. Witness, I see things for what they are. I believe that not every you mustn't take everything at face value, but I try and not overcomplicate things. You know, this is how it is. There's nothing we can do. We need to move. You know, we're not going to dwell on it because if we've already accepted that there's nothing we can do to change it, dwelling on it is mainly just going to frustrate us and it might lead us down a path we don't want to go. So I think for me, it's very easy for me to pivot because of that. You know, I can sit and say, listen, I don't think the soccer thing is working anymore. You know, and I can evaluate. You know, I'll obviously evaluate. I won't just jump onto, you know, I don't think of myself as an impulsive person. But I'll sit down and I'll evaluate and I'll say, listen, I'm 25. You know, my dream was always to play in the Premier League. You know, 25, Premier League, there's no way it's going to happen anymore. Right? These kids get picked on. If you're not in that system by the time you're 18, you're 19, you're most likely never going to make it, right? Every once in a while, you get an outlier. But I looked at my circumstances. You know, I looked at, and I was very honest about how good I really was. You know, and I said, listen, I don't think.
How good were you?
I don't think I was Premier League good. I don't think there was anything I could have done and any type of coaching.
But there's some players in South Africa that are in the Premier League and they don't play overseas.
No, you know what? I don't.
And you've played overseas.
Yeah, I when I say Premier League,
you mean La Liga?
English Premier League.
English Premier League,
not PSL.
Oh, no, PSL. So PSL, you could make it.
No, I don't even know about that. No,
you must specify.
All I'm saying is that the dream was to play in the English Premier League.
Sure, you must specify.
And then when I was in the US, I realized that there was no way I was ever gonna get there. Yes. And then I thought, okay, do I want to?
You were not a Benina.
Do I want to come back? Yeah, I was not. I mean, there was no way I was that good, you know. And I had to be honest with me.
Because Benny, by the time I was 23,
was
playing for
exactly. He was already in the. I mean, Benny played in the Amaku Group Olympic team, right?
Yes.
He was already been in the Olympics. This man was already in the Ajax setup, and remember, Ajax at that time was still owned by Ajax Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So he was already in that setup,
yes,
you know. So it was all, so you have to be honest about these things. Right? Listen, I can continue here, be a comfortable life. I get paid relatively well. I live overseas and for the next 5 years, but this is not what I want. You know, this was never the plan. Yes,
I could have continued.
Yes, I could have. You know? Yeah. But for me, it got to a point where I've said, listen, I think I've pushed this soccer thing as far as it can go.
You did your best.
Yeah, this is it. This is as high as it goes. From here, it plateaus. And I'm not comfortable yet. I don't think the life it's affording me is the life I want to live for the rest of my life. So I decided to come back. If that means I need to take step backs, then I do that, right? I'm always comfortable. I mean, when I left Orem, you know, a lot of people said, Why would you leave a position as a CEO and go take up a senior management role? I'm a senior manager where I am. I'm not an executive. I report to someone, with a boss again. I come from not having a boss to doing whatever I want. But I understand, right? For me, this is how I think about it. When you are in high school and you go through high school, you start off as a grade 8 and you grow and you get to matric. And now you're in matric, you're the head boy, you're the guy who's popular, you know prefects, teachers. You're at the top of your game.
Yeah.
But in high school.
Different level.
Yeah. When you get to university, no matter how great you were in high school, we'll all be first years.
Nobody cares.
Exactly. I realized that I had gotten to the peak of that particular level I was in. And for me to go to the next level, I need to accept that I'm not going to start at executive level. So I was able to pivot. I don't mind to some people at the time. It looked like
it's a good example because you were popular in high school. We used to talk about you everywhere. That stays in Tembisa.
Those were good times, man. Those were good times. No, but also remember, it's very easy. You actually it was very easy to be popular in high school, right? Because in high school, either you need to be good in sport, or you need to be good in academics, or you need to be mischievous,
or be good in parties,
or you need to be mischievous, and then you become popular. But no, high school was an interesting time. It was an interesting high school. And I think I made some lifelong friends there. There's certain guys that I met there that I'm still very good friends.
Some of them are mutual friends.
Yes. We have a lot of mutual friends all the way dating. And there's guys there that I probably haven't seen in years. If I were to see now, I would embrace them with the same warmth. Someone like Hope. I haven't seen Hope in a very long time. Yeah. But if I saw Hope, I'd embrace him with that same love. Hope is called Hope is called. There's like this kind of Hope.
Yeah, we
played a lot of soccer with Hope, man. Hope was a very talented player. But yeah, man,
but he's one guy that also did the same thing. Pivoted and became an attorney. Now runs his own law firm and stuff.
Yeah, and I suppose maybe there's also a sport element there that allows for us to be able to do that, right? Because when you're a soccer player, you move from different teams. At some point, I played with Hope at PK Kelly's. At some point, he was at Swallows. Then you get called up to the provincial team. Then you are and whatnot, So maybe even that actually helps us change easier. It becomes a bit easier for us to adapt to different environments and different spaces. But yeah, I think that was my soccer journey. But for me, I've always been able to pivot, in anything. Even now, I always say I'm not attached to anything I'm doing. If I need to change, if I need to do something different, I'll be more than willing to do it.
But how does one build that mindset, even if they've never been in soccer? I think the example that you made is quite important if people are listening. You said in high school, it could be this guy, popular. Best guy.
You're at your peak.
You're at your peak. You get to varsity.
No one cares.
Nobody cares. You started
first year.
And you took that and said, even in the job, one industry or one specific area of your industry, you're the boss, you're the CEO. Everybody respects you. Everybody reports to you. But in order to get to the next level at another job, which is slightly higher, you must be willing to start at the bottom there.
Yeah.
The willingness to do that is not so easy because people love the title CEO.
Yeah.
You could